You guys voted for it. So today we are going to be venomizing Shrapnel as the next part of our Multiverse Story Arc. Without further ado, let's bring this illustration to life. Our story continues with Shockwave and the newly venomized Starscream leaving the lab, and Venom left with a sinister smile on his face. Although he's in a holding cell, the realization that he's no longer alone and there's another new symbiote that shares his essence, or rather his will, in this hybrid form was on the ship. Shockwave and Starscream arrive in a cargo hold of the ship with several low-class Decepticon warriors, all who looked puzzled at the new look for Starscream. They were wondering if they would be getting a new look. Shockwave ordered Starscream to attack the Decepticons, and he was amazed and terrified at the speed and ferocity at which they were dispatched. Shockwave was both in awe and terror as he realised the power may be too much for Lord Megatron, but at the same time, Lord Megatron would be very pleased with the destructive force. Starscream made very short work of the low-class Decepticons. One of his arms turned into a razor-sharp blade and sliced several of them in two with very little effort at all. The blasts from these low-level warriors hitting Starscream did nothing. There was no damage, and they didn't even look strong enough to effectively hurt a fly in comparison. But the symbiote shot tendrils out of Starscream's back and threw these low-class warriors across the room. Starscream then leapt over and started to tear them apart, piece by piece, effectively shredding these warriors until none of them were left standing. Shockwave checked his data and decided to test the defensive abilities of the new symbiote hybrid Decepticon. He ordered Starscream not to retaliate and stand there, at which point he then transformed into his tank mode and fired a powerful blast at almost full force at Starscream. The blast hit one of Starscream's wings and blew a section of it off onto the floor. As Shockwave transformed back into his robot form, he looked in astonishment on the floor. He noticed Starscream's wing, although dormant, as he looked up at the wing on Starscream, it looked to be regenerating and practically repaired itself. Shockwave then realised he needed to analyse the piece that came off. As he checked it, it appeared that the nanites within the symbiote host were effectively dead, and the symbiote was just not moving. It was effectively dormant or dead itself. So he decided that unless it was away from the main host body, it was on the main host body, the nanites would basically deactivate and the symbiote would be dormant or useless. Something he wanted to improve later on, but left it for now. Both Starscream and Shockwave left and proceeded on to the next area where the testing will continue, and Shockwave wanted to see what effects the symbiote had on Starscream's vehicle mode. At the same time, Shrapnel was wandering around the ship looking for something to eat. Although the Insecticons are loyal to Lord Megatron to a fault, and they are very, very loyal, they are also controlled by basic instincts, as they effectively are like insects, including the need to feed. And Insecticons love feeding on scrap metal and basically anything metal or scrap whenever they have the urge to. Only Lord Megatron and Soundwave seem to be able to order the Insecticons not to feed when they are hungry, and they will listen to them. Anyway, Shrapnel enters the testing room and sees all the low-class level warriors in pieces all over the room and begins on his all-you-can-eat buffet. As he was halfway through eating the scraps of the now destroyed warriors, he noticed that a piece from the Starscream was on the floor. He didn't know where it came from, but without a second thought, he ate the venomized metal and then continued to devour the remaining scraps until nothing was left. After having this fill, Shrapnel decided that he would head back to where the other Decepticons were, feeling rather pleased with himself. While partway down a corridor, without anyone else around, he started to hunch over and felt weird in his stomach. Now I use the term stomach because I'm not really sure if you'd class it as a stomach on a Transformer, but it's the best analogy I've got since he's just eating a piece of venomized metal. Anyway, just then he lifted his head and he screamed in agony. The hybrid symbiote came out of his mouth and started to cover him, changing him from the inside out to be the latest venomized Decepticon. After the transformation was complete, the newly venomized Shrapnel changed back into its original form and set off looking for the other Insecticons with an all too familiar smile and sinister grin on his face. And that's where I'll leave it at the story on this one. But in essence, I wanted to take Shrapnel's design and I wanted to capture the moment he's being venomized in this illustration. So he's kind of in the corridor, as you'll see from the background. He's got his hands by his side, his head tilted back and his mouth open, and the symbiote's coming out of the mouth. So I tried to get the face of the symbiote on the main bit and by the mouth that'll wrap around his head, and then get like the symbiote came up in the air and then came back down on parts of the wing and his arm, whereas other sections were covered and clearly transformed into a venomized form. I also wanted to play on the insect a bit more. I know he transforms into a stag beetle, but I thought it'd be quite cool to add several orbs onto his shoulder and kind of give it an almost arachnid feel because of the venom symbiote in essence. And I also wanted to put the venom sort of like metallic spider symbol on his chest bit where it's actually starting to cover. All in all, I like the design and the color scheme for this. The green color complements the black, purple and gold effectively of Shrapnel and also plays off the purple background. I remember a lot of the ships in the cartoon series were purpley color. So I wanted to have that as the corridor because the Decepticons were quite evil and purple is usually associated with evil within the character designs. And I quite like the composition of the piece. I quite like the fact that Shrapnel's in the center, and even though we don't see all of it, I've tried to get the lighting so it's darker at the lower half and light at the top half. Anyway, hope you enjoy the process of bringing Shrapnel into its venomized form. If you do, smash the like button, but enjoy the rest of the video. There you have it. Hope you enjoy the process of bringing Shrapnel to life in its venomized form. Really pleased with how this came out and the colours. I think it looks quite striking, quite effective. Don't forget, Monday there's going to be a new poll for who you want to see next in the Multiverse Story Arc. The choices will be Superman or Carol Danvers, and there'll be more details of how you can vote for who you want to see in Monday's video. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more venomized content of Transformers. I have other venomized characters from the Multiverse Story Arc, which I will link to a video on the screen and link into the description. Anyway, stay safe everybody, and I'll catch you next time.